Well done, people. Back again for another recap of Sisters, um, season 3, episode 4, I think. 4 or 5, I don't remember. Anyway, this week's episode. All right, so we start off where we left off last week, which was Andy was like, having second thoughts. Andy was like, no, I don't want to go. So, we start off right there, and Andy's like, no. So all the girls are like, so they're like, okay, let's go. Danny's like, okay, let's go. But she's not moving, right? So Sabrina say, are you sure? And then Danny's like, yeah, she's sure. Come on, we're going. But Andy's like having second thoughts, right? So um, meanwhile, Andy's having her second thoughts. Um, I think Fatima said something that Danny agreed with, right? And so Danny was like, yeah, but I'm still not feeling you because of Zach. Fatima's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't know anything. Sabrina's like, this ain't the time. Like, y'all, this is not the time. It's not y'all time. This is Andy's time, right? So then they're like, Andy, what do you want to do? And she's like, I don't want to do it, but I want to tell him in private. And then so Danny's like, well, him never do it in a private. Him do everything in a public, right? Him plan the surprise wedding in front of everybody and ask in front of everybody. So now you go tell him no, tell him in front of everybody. So um Andy is like looking at Sabrina. Then no, she's like, right, Sabrina. Sabrina's like, whatever Andy wants to do. So Andy's like, I want to tell him in private. So Sabrina's like, okay, come on, y'all, we're gonna go get him. So they leave out to go get Andy, to go get Gary. So they go out there to get Gary, right? And as soon as Gary sees them, he's like, want to make sure change our mind, don't. He's like, y'all made her change her mind. And they're like, you know what, go and go talk to Andy. Danny's like, go and go talk to Andy. No, 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 wait a minute. So she starts telling him her mind. So she was like giving it to him. And then Sabrina, so he's about to leave. And then Sabrina's like, no, 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 wait. So Sabrina starts giving it to him. And then she says, but by the way, um, on that point that talking about how we all made decisions for her. Andy's a grown ass woman. She's beautiful. I don't know what that has to do with it. She is not that she's not beautiful. She's beautiful, of course, but that doesn't have anything to do with making up your own mind. She's like she's beautiful. She's smart. She's intelligent. Smart, intelligent. I'm so nitpicking, and she's successful. Like the only thing about that's making up your own mind is intelligent. She could just said she's an intelligent woman. She can make up her own damn mind. So he's like basically, she's like basically gonna let him know that Andy can make up her own mind. Because men always want to think that friends are influencing your decision. Like, are you dealing with a grown ass woman? I know you're dealing with a grown ass woman, so the woman made her own decision, right? Of course, she's gonna talk to her friends, but she's gonna do whatever the hell she wants to do. If she does what her friends wanted to do, if Andy was doing what her friends wanted to do, Andy wouldn't even be with you any at all. Anyways, my throat, excuse me. So, then of course, it's Fatima's turn. So Fatima starts telling him, you ain't your foundation is broken. And she starts preaching to him, and then Danny finishes up. So Danny's finishing up Fatima's thoughts. So they're like realizing that they have a connection because they're almost, I don't want to say they're the same person because Danny is kind of a mooch, whereas Fatima is like a go getter. But other than that, they're both no nonsense people, right? So they're like connecting, but even though Danny's fighting it. Anyways, they finally let Gary go. So while Gary's gone, they're all looking at Aaron, and Aaron's like, and like, mm. Oh, you know Gary. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know how we know Gary. So he's like, oh, he's a part of our, the support group. Support group? What kind of support? A church, a part of the support group. And like, well, y'all ain't doing a good job. Like y'all ain't doing a good job. Anyway, so then they turn and then they want to know about Karen. So what's up with you and Karen? And he's like, well, I like Karen, but she's hung up on Zach. And then Fatima, so then Fatima's like, well, um, so they don't want to talk about it because Fatima's there. So Fatima's like, well, yeah, me and Zach were together, but we're not together anymore. And they're like, what do you, but I told him he had to go. So the girls are like, what do you mean he was living with you? She's like, kind of. And then they were like, nah, that's Zach. That's Zach. He likes to live off women. Right. And so Fatima's like defending her man, like, no, Zach's just trying to find himself. She's like, and they're like, ooh, you're making excuses for him. And she's like, no. So she's sticking up for her man, even though she's like acting like she don't want to be with him. Anyway, I like that. So back to Gary and Andy now. So Gary goes in there and um, he's like, oh, you're saying no, and she's like, well, it's no for now. It's no for today. And he acts all understanding and everything. And I'm like, ugh, these writers are really trying to make us like Gary, right? Me not like him. I'm not gonna like him. And he's very understanding and saying reasonable things and sweet things, and they're having a little playful banter, and I'm like, why y'all doing this? Why y'all trying to make us like Gary? Like, Tyler Perry, stop it. We don't want to like Gary. um so they come out all smiling, and the girls are like, well, I see everything's good, and he's like inviting them to dinner. And so Fatima and and Sabrina making excuses. Then he's like, this bitch is lying. They don't have nothing to do. We just don't want to go eat with you. But he plays it cool. He's like, okay, whatever. And they all leave, right? Although Daddy wants to know where's our $500. But of course, there's nobody there to give her $500, right? So that's out the door. All right. So anyway, now we'll just continue with Gary and Andy. So Gary and Andy goes home, and then they show him in the bed. He's waiting for Andy, and he's like, by the way, Gary Buddy is like pow pow pow. Gary Butt. I'm like, Tyler Perry finds the finest men. Like, he finds the men that have been working out for years, and you can see their muscles and their stomach is like bam bam bam. And it's like, damn. I mean, I don't like you, but your body looks good. Anyway, he's in the bed. He's waiting for Andy, right? And then he's like telling Andy to hurry up because he's tired. So Andy comes out looking all like, pow! She's in her like red lingerie. She looks good. Her body looks good. When I saw her in that, it made me think of her in another show called Family Business, right? Family Business. Y'all watch that? I love that show. I just discovered it actually. It was coming on the other day on BT, and then so I was like, it was the second season, so I was like, yeah, I like the show. So I had to go back and look for the first season. I looked for the first season and watch the whole thing. Watch the second season. It was like, it's really good. I like it. She's in there. She plays a completely different person, of course. So when I saw her in that outfit, I was like, just made me think of her in the Family Business. But anyway, back to them. I went on a whole tangent. So she's like looking good and everything, and then so Gary no longer tired. He jumps up, and he goes to her, and then she's like, I want to thank you for today, and I want to thank you by showing you this new trick I learned, this new sex trick I learned. As soon as she says that, he went from like to like, "Ah." He was like, no, no, let's go to bed. And she's all confused. I'm all confused. I'm like, let's go to bed and let's go to sleep. And she's like, what? She's confused and then she's mad too. It's like, just let's go to sleep. So she's like, what is it? And then he's like, you can't say stuff like that. Say what? When you say you're gonna show me something you've learned, that just makes me think about, old dude that you were with the other day. Because I guess I had even forgot about that. Like, oh, it was last season. But I had even forgot about it because she, her and Gary weren't together. She had told him it was over, and she got with this guy, and then Gary found out, and so he was like thinking about that, and he's like, it must have been him that showed you that new trick. She was like, for your information, me see it in a magazine. It's a magazine me get it out of, which me never try find nobody. But he's not having it. He all his jealousy side comes out. I'm like, yes, that's the real Gary. Come on, writers, that's the real Gary. That's who we want to see. We don't want to like him. That's him right there. And he's like, he's all jealous and mad over something that ain't even happened. It's like, dude, relax. And so he doesn't want to do anything. She's mad, and then so they're both lying in there, not sleeping. And then so till he asks her, she says to her he's sleeping. She's like, no. And then he's like, I'm sorry. I mean, such an abusive behavior. You just get all mad, and then right away you're sorry, and the person should just be okay. And then you kind of blame them. They always kind of turn around and put the blame on the other person. You did this, and that's why I acted this way. Anyway, he's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, it's okay. She's like, it's okay. And she starts kissing him. By the way, she's in full makeup. Like, I hate when they do that. You're going to bed. Why would you be in like full makeup? Eyelashes, eyeshadow, all this other stuff, red ass lipstick. And then, okay, so when I saw all of that, I was like, really? And then when she starts kissing him, and then the lipstick starts coming off. I'm like, okay, maybe that was the point of the lipstick. But still, all that eyelash and eyeshadow. That wasn't necessary. You're going to bed. Anyways, another tangent. Anyways, so she starts kissing on his neck and stuff, and he's like, "No, I'm still thinking about the guy. I'm still thinking about you and that guy. And anybody. I just whenever I think of anybody on top of you, I just get so mad, so mad." And she's like, "That's not good." And he's like, "I know. I'm working on it in therapy or whatever the heck he says." And anyway, she's laying there because he's like, I can't. She's like, I can't even touch you, and he doesn't want to be touched. So she's all mad, and they're laying there, and then he's like, Andy. She's like, yes. He's like, was he in this bed? He's like, no. Oh, like, I not to forget. I said, not to forget Andy. She's like yelling no at him, and like turns her back to him. So anyway, that's it for them. That's it for Andy and Gary. Who's next? Well, let's get Maurice out the way. I don't know what this is about, but the guy that Maurice knocked out last week. Um, Quincy, I think his name is. So Maurice had brought him back to his house. So Maurice wakes him up, because Maurice had completely knocked him out. So Maurice wakes him up. He's like, I'm gonna call the police, and the guy is like, now the Maurice asks him why he's stealing. He doesn't have a good excuse, or whatever his excuse is, he doesn't want to tell Maurice. So Maurice is basically trying to help him, trying to figure out what his issue is. And Maurice realizes he's trying to hide. So, but he's not trying to give Maurice no information. It's like, if you're gonna call the police, call the police. So Maurice like lets him go. So that was that from Maurice and the guy. I guess we'll get figure out what's happening with that in further episodes along the way. All right. So now we get to so do Zach and Fatima. I'll wait. I'll do Karen first. Okay, Danny. We'll start with Danny. So then Danny goes home. When she gets home, the country music blaring, and Preston sleeping. So she turns off the music and she goes to Preston. He's like, he wakes up, and he was like, "How was your day?" And she's like, "Oh, it was an interesting day. How was your day?" And he was like, um, I missed you all day or something. Oh God, what did he say? Better know that you're here or something like that. He said something real sweet. And so, of course, Danny just melts and she's like, "Aw, you say the sweetest things." And I'm like, I was saying to him, like, "Oh, he says the sweetest things. I want a Preston in my life." Anyway, um, he was being real sweet to her, and he wanted to hold her before she went into the shower and stuff like that. And while he was holding her, she starts to actually tell him about her day. So she's like, telling him that Gary, wanted to do a surprise wedding for Andy, and he was like, so Preston's like, wow, well, did Andy do it? And she's like, no. Um, he's like, well, I think it's sweet, and she's like, no, it's not sweet. It was controlling. And he's like, well, okay. Well, don't worry. When I ask you to marry, it won't be like that. And she was like, she got all freaked out. Like, she was freaking out. She went to the bathroom to call Sabrina, all freaking out. Sabrina's like, listen, calm down. Stop overthinking. I'm going over to Karen's house. So she hangs up on her and she goes to Karen's house. She gets, and this is, mind you, she gets to Karen's house. It's 11:30 at night. Don't none of my friends, all your friends out there, unless something's wrong with you or something wrong with me, don't come to my house 11:30 at night. Um, unless I'm having a party or something. Anyways, um, so Sabrina gets to Karen's house, and checking on her, and then Karen's like, "Well, did she go through with the wedding?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "Good." So Sabrina asks Karen if she's jealous. And I'm like, when I saw that piece, when they have the commercials and there was that piece about, "Are you jealous?" I really thought they were talking about Zach and Fatima. She's asking her if she's jealous of Andy. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't see that. Maybe somebody else. Y'all see? Maybe somebody else sees it. Y'all explain it to me. I don't see where Karen is jealous of Andy. Ain't nothing to be jealous of Andy for when it comes to Gary. Like, who, who would want to be with Gary? Like, no. Anyway, um, so of course Karen is mad. Karen's like, all right, get out, let yourself out. Bye. So, while Sabrina's leaving, who shows up? Aaron. And so no, Aaron's showing up at her house. This must be like midnight by now. And it's like, he's showing up at her house at midnight. We know what you're there for. So he comes in and he actually says what he's there for. So Sabrina leaves and he tells Karen that, he's there to make love. Like, really? Ain't no making love when you come to her house at that time of night when y'all aren't even a couple. Make love, my ass. So, anyways, that's that for them. Yeah, at this point, I think someone said in my comment, like, Karen deserves Andy. Yeah, not Andy. Karen deserves Aaron. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Karen deserves Aaron. So, all right, so that's them. So now we get to my faves. All right, so remember that last week Karen had called Zach to come over, right? So of course this is before Karen is home at night. So while Karen was at her salon waiting for Zach, Zach shows up and she's like, have a seat. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And then so because Zach didn't want to sit down because Zach knows what he's there for. So she goes, she starts talking about, she talked to Fatima, and Fatima was telling her that Zach kept talking about her, right? And he was like, yeah. Um, and Zach was reading her all wrong at first because, Zach thought she was coming for something completely different. But anyway, she was coming from the point where Zach was saying nice things about her and she didn't know. and she basically likes that he was saying nice things about her. And then also all the things that he said when he came into the salon, um, that day when they were in the salon, getting it on, and all the things he had said before that. And so he's like, I don't know, really. He's not following, right? Or he doesn't know where she's going with it. He's going somewhere completely different. And so she's like, come on, I just want you to meet me halfway. Completely made me, I'm going off on another tangent now. It completely made me think of one of my exes calling me, or, contacting me the other day, talking about, um, am I gonna, he wants to get back with me, and is he gonna fight alone? There's no fight. You don't just pop back into my life and expect me to come back to you. Like, no, I have other things going on. And probably even if I didn't have other things going on, no. Not even probably. I'm not one to go back to old stuff. Once we're done, we're done. We're not getting back together. Nah. Anyways, um, Zach and Karen. So, she's like, I just want you to meet me halfway. He's like, there's no meet me halfway. Listen, Fatima saw something in me that you or nobody else ever did, right? Fatima told me that I could do whatever I wanted to do, be whatever I wanted to be. All I had to do was hold my head up. And I did it, and now my life is great. I'm doing something good. Things are happening for me. My life is great. So guess what? I am going to pursue Fatima with my whole heart. Say, you hear me say? Whole of my heart. The whole of my heart. So that means no space on left for you. I'm going to pursue Fatima with my whole heart. So we're done. Karen's looking like, it's like we are done. Me and you are through. Done. Done, done, done. Like you go, Zach. Anyway, so he leaves out and he goes straight to Fatima's house, but he calls her first, right? He calls her. Fatima's at her house, putting her nightcap on, getting ready for bed. And then Zach calls. She's like, "What do you want, Zach?" And he's like, "I'm on my way over." She's like, "What? I'm on my way over." Click. So she actually like tears the thing off, grabs the thing off her head, runs to the bathroom, fixes up her hair, probably brushes her teeth and all that good stuff, and getting ready for Zach to come. Right? So Zach comes and scared for a minute. I started thinking I was doing all this and it wasn't recording, but it was recording. Anyways, Zach shows up to the house, and as soon as she opens the door, he just grabs her and kisses her hard, right? She's like, no, no, wait, wait, Karen. He's like, no, 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 why you're not about Karen are her friend them. This is only thing me there for offer me and you. I'm here for you. I want to pursue you, right? So she was like, she wants to do it, right? She's strong. Fatima's strong. I don't know if there are actually people like Fatima. I think Fatima is who we want to be when it comes to being strong with guys, right? Fatima is like she wants it, right? But and she gives in to him, but not all the way, right? Because she doesn't like just totally gives in. She's like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're not gonna do no love making. We're gonna and so that way it kind of takes the emotions out of it for her. I think like she wants to do it, but she doesn't want to get too emotional. She doesn't want to get too attached because she's still scared, right? So they and my mom watches this, so I won't say words. And they show the whole thing of them doing it, right? And so that was that. So I guess next week we'll see what else happens. So I think that's it for the episode. I don't remember. I don't think anything else happened. Um, it was a good episode. Lots of things happened. I'm excited about next week because next week they show what's his name, Jakari, whatever his name is. He's gonna come back all pissed off at Sabrina. So it's like he wants to sue her for sexual assault. Like, really. We'll see how that goes. Or sexual harassment. Not assault, but harassment. We'll see how that goes. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, y'all. Please like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, like, and share. Later.